Let's stay then with this particular story and speak to political analyst Lukhanyo Vangqa and Dr. Lumkile Mondi, an economist at the Wits School of Economics and Finance. Thank you so much to you both for your time. I'll start with you, Lukhanyo. I mean, we're just speaking this evening at the back of what the president had to say, failing municipalities, being dysfunctional, not being able to deliver services. And you look at what is happening in Dijobotla. It's one of the examples of the many municipalities around the country that cannot be able to provide services. Listening to the president yesterday, a lot of what we've heard before in this regard. Do you get a sense that something new now is going to happen to try and improve services for people?
Good evening, Bongiwe. No, unfortunately not, because service delivery, the critical issue that you just mentioned now, in the list of 6 priorities that were listed by the president on Sunday, it forms number 4 of those priorities. So you can see how low it is in that list of top 6. And that's the first part. The second part is that the ANC, obviously, from the list that we've been given, has the wrong priorities. The first priority that the ANC has is inward looking, and their number 1 priority is the renewal of the ANC. And Bongiwe, this is a departure from what the January 8th statement used to be. The first January 8th statement that was issued in 1972 by President O.R. Tambo focused on the building of the nation. And from there, he specified that the January 8th statement is a message from the ANC to the people of South Africa. And therefore, I don't think it should ever be inward looking, the way in which we've seen this January 8th statement being inward looking. That statement itself is made up of 6 priorities and also 6 tasks. On the 6 tasks, 5 are internal and inward looking to what the ANC is going to do. And number 6 of those tasks is the issue of improving governance. So you can really see how the ANC has become so inward looking, and we as the country place second fiddle to the priorities of the ANC.
Now, Dr. Mondi, when one then listens to what Lukhanyo is saying, that it's more of an inward-looking approach. I mean, you're listening to renewal, you're listening to this and that, and then in the same breath, we're hearing a governing party that says it wants to turn around the economic fortunes of South Africa. Is this even a possibility if they are still so inward-looking?
Not at all. As Lukhanyo has just alluded, that it's more about itself and clinging to political power. I think the issue of economic development are all glaring in the sense that the energy crisis has beset us for more than 15 years now, and just indicating that economy, it doesn't matter as long as the ANC can get the constituents to vote it continuously into power. That matters for them. So we need a rethink as a luxury in society and energize ourselves as individuals and communities and business societies to try and regenerate the energy that is required for us in rippling our society, rippling the economy, and really moving South Africa forward. With the ANC, I don't think they are capable or they've got capabilities in themselves of talking the economy, of really changing the fortunes that are declining rapidly of South Africa.
And Dr. Mondi, the ANC president talks about how, he understands, particularly with this, the energy crisis, it undermines economic growth and investment. Load shedding affects small businesses as well as households. But given what has been put on the table to try and resolve this crisis at Eskom, does it look like there's a shortage of ideas, or does do those in charge really know what it will take to fix this?
I think they know what it will take to fix this. However, because their priorities are elsewhere, therefore they'll continue buying time, because the fact that people are continuously losing jobs because of energy crisis, small businesses that are collapsing, smaller towns, that the one that we've discussed now is collapsing, it doesn't matter for them. That's the change that South Africans need to realize, that with the ANC, we've seen what we can do, they've shown what they're capable of doing, and therefore, when we exercise our responsibility in 2024, we have to do what South Africa requires South Africa requires a new leadership that's got a vision capability of focusing on the core issues, the issues that are impacting on South Africans. One is an economy that's growing, creating jobs so people can be employed, and therefore in that process be able to provide for their families, to alleviate themselves out of poverty, and over a period of time to talk about how to therefore closing inequality. At this juncture, we just pushing people far backward, as the leader was speaking earlier of the Patriotic Alliance in relation to where many people are being pushed to go to the forest to get firewood, they're pushed to go to streams to get to water. It is a crisis that we have, a political crisis, which the ANC just lives on as though there's no crisis at all.
And Lukhanyo, you know, Dr. Mondi talks about a vision, and listening to the ANC president yesterday talk about their vision for 2023, even confidently saying that this is a party for the people, and come 2024, they are going to show those who are their detractors that this is a political party for the people when the people actually pick them at the ballot box. Can they go into 2024 with so much confidence, though?
No, absolutely not. It would not make sense, Bongiwe, to any man on the street or informed observer of what's happening. Because within a country that has faced over 205 days of load shedding last year, the worst on record, however, load shedding becomes a secondary consideration for them. Youth unemployment, that is at record high levels, the highest in the world. President Thabo Mbeki says that it is a ticking time bomb wherein we would have our own version of the Arab Spring. The rates of femicide in this country are also the highest in the world. So we rank very highly in all the wrong aspects with regards to governance. You look at inequality in this country, it's the worst levels in the world according to Oxfam. So the ANC would not have that vigor or extraordinary confidence to think that they would be, go to a breeze when it comes to the 2024 elections, unless those leaders are in denial. And one of the things that we've seen with this inward-looking issues character of the ANC is that sometimes they are in denial. I mean, if you recall, Gwede once said that the issue of service delivery protests was as a result of ANC successes, that people see that ANC is doing so well and they want those service deliveries for themselves, and they become accustomed to good service delivery, that they go and protest in search for more service delivery. So those type of utterances tell you a leadership that is not in touch with reality and a leadership that is in denial.
And Lukhanyo, let's stay with that and talk about, this one particular aspect. The look at the, people that are relying on the state through some grants of some sorts. You think about the SRD grants, you're thinking about some of, the other grants that are there. The president then saying that, they must be applauded for having so many people in this particular system. Is it really something that South Africans should be applauding?
Look, Mondi, I must say that the issue of a social safety net in a country where we have such high levels of poverty is something that is required, on the basis of human rights, on the basis of equality, on the basis of justice. However, what the president needed to have also taken us into his confidence about is how do you transition these people away from those social grants into work opportunities, into funded business opportunities, into educational opportunities, and you don't have these people become trapped in the social safety net that is meant to sort of give them a buffer so that they don't fall below the poverty line. But you don't seem to get that from the ANC. The president didn't speak as someone who is, mostly happy about the fact that we've provided this social safety net. He seemed to be proud, and it's something that we need to keep going forward. And unfortunately, we didn't hear about the transition, and the transition from the social safety net into economic independence is something that we really needed to hear more of.
Dr. Mondi, you were chuckling there as I was asking this question. I'd like to hear your response on that.
Just to take this point further from Lukhanyo, the fact that even looking forward in how do we sustain this social safety net, all the proponents of the safety nets talk about taxation. that will tax the rich. And the issue here should be about growth, because if you grow the cake, then we'll take some into the labor market, and over time, through the growing economy, there's larger revenue being collected. So it seems to me that the ANC doesn't have a growth agenda whatsoever, because the taxing of the current wealth basket that we have itself won't lead to the desired result that the president and many others talk to. So let's talk about growth. Let's talk about how to incentivize private sector, how to ensure that all the regulations that hamper private sector are addressed. These are the issues that the president talked to in the Vangqa, that they'll be addressed. However, very little has happened around, for example, the cost of broadband. So data in South Africa is still very, very expensive. So it's all these issues that require a structural reform to enable the economy to grow, and in doing so, make the safety nets a much more sustainable program going forward.
And I mean, data cost, Dr. Mondi, you think about someone who's unemployed, who has to send their CV, and how much money that will be for them to even be able to access that. Let's talk about, lastly then, Dr. Mondi, corruption. The ANC is saying that it's going to deal decisively with this one, but we'll look at what came out from the State Capture Commission's reports, and there's been very little action there.
I mean, we see really amazing work being done, I think, by the NPA, by the SIU. I think for me, this is work in progress. I think given how Zuma and those in the ANC hollowed out many of these state institutions, that South Africans should be patient around dealing with corruption, particularly from the prosecuting side. I think we now have got many of those capabilities. What we still lack, though, are the accountants, are the tax people who need to assist the legal brains, so that when we do this investigation, we're able then to get to the bottom of it and nail people over time and make corruption a disincentive for many South Africans. So I'm encouraged that, all the building blocks are there. We just need time. And I think South Africans, if they're patient and we get a regime in 2024 that supports what has been done, we'll be able to get to the bottom of it and over time erode it as our economy recovers.
You agree with that, Lukhanyo?
Here's an interesting fact, Bongiwe. Judge Zondo said, for an example, cadre deployment is one of the enabling factors that led to state capture. The president's speech on Sunday said that they are going to keep cadre deployment as an official policy of the ANC. The fundraising policy of the ANC from the Treasury says that they must have more of their cadres serve in government so that they can be taxed levies to sustain the business or the running of the ANC. So tell me if there's going to be any progress when you have such contradictory messages in the fight against corruption.
Looks like it's a long road ahead. Let me thank you both for your time, and let's see then what happens when it comes to some of the resolutions that were put on the table and some of the aspirations according to the ANC following its January 8th statement. That was political analyst Lukhanyo Vangqa and Dr. Lumkile Mondi, an economist at the Wits School of Economics and Finance.